All right, what's up, swing trader? Snacks here. We're going to jump in and do our watch list for August 28th, 2025 and talk a little bit about NVIDIA's earnings after the bell. Looks like we're going to get a gap down. We'll talk a little bit about how we're going to play that possibly. I do like to do gap down reversal plays on overreactions to earnings or news, and I think we will have a setup there for NVIDIA. They had a double beat and a buyback program announcing they're gapping down, so I think we're getting a bit of an overreaction, and if we do get back on trend, we want to be a part of that. So let's jump in here. SPY closing at all-time highs. The Q's getting a bit of strength back over the 9. RSP also bouncing off of that prior high level where we said we'd like to see a reaction, see if we can get back on trend there. IWM also pushing up again. So a lot of great breadth out there. There's a lot of good setups that I'm going to go over, try to kind of fly through these because I'm really only interested in a couple actually taking them, but I like to show you guys the setup over and over and over again for Triple R. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the industries that I see some flow coming into, specifically financials, energy, and housing. All right, so we'll just go ahead and jump in doing the Triple R setups and Dash. I'm still very, very interested in Dash. We've been talking about this for a while. If we get a convincing move over the 9 EMA, I am very likely to take Dash. We've got prior all-time highs and all-time highs above. I like the setup a lot. It's, respects trend. We're batting 1,000 for the Triple R on Dash, so we got to take the swing at that one if it gives it to us. Hood also setting up here, possibly. We're getting a bit of a rejection, but another push up and getting over the 9 would be attractive to me here on Hood. Shop, same deal as Hood, right? We're getting a bit of a rejection, but I think over yesterday's highs would be a good trigger on Shop. It looks like it does want to go off of the gap up on earnings. Right, we've got Meta. This is actually the one that I think I will be taking. If we get over the 9, I'm going to take Meta, but I'm likely going to use the 2X ETF, right? So the shares on Meta and the contracts are quite expensive. So I'll likely do Meta, which moves at 2X. So if Meta goes up 10%, then theoretically this would go up 20%, right? So it is actually heightened volatility, which does add risk, but I've traded a few times before and it's a clean mover. It's just a little bit more volatile than the actual Meta shares would be. I think I do prefer it here. So like I said, over the 9 is what I'm looking at entering today. We also have Palantir and NVIDIA I'm interested in, and then some other stuff that I may get like half size positions that are more sector ideas. But I like Meta a lot, and METU is likely how I'll play it if I enter that today. We've got Palantir I like a lot, back over the 9, okay? If we get over the 9, I think it's probably going to squeeze shorts a bit and push back up towards all-time highs. I like Wing, okay? This one's been lagging a little bit, but it got over the 50 yesterday, so I think through yesterday's high is a good look. Spot is another one that is struggling with that 50 area. Here's an example of a gap down reversal here that I'm about to get into for NVIDIA. I went through the charts of some of the leaders and circled all the times that this does happen. You get overreactions to news and you gap down, and then when you breach that level, it is typically a pretty predictable solid move to at least fill the gap and sometimes even get back on trend up to newer highs. It's a really strong play. VRT, VST, we've been watching these two for a while now. They're quite close to triggering. I think through yesterday's high is a trigger on VRT. I like it. I may take it. VST, same idea. CEG, getting over the 50 on CEG, you got to take it. INQ, this sector is still holding up, and kind of a little bit of a rejection over the 50 yesterday, but some strength again today. I think it's interesting. Dave is another one. I like financials, right? So I've got a few of those on here. I think Dave over the 50 is probably, it's attractive. I think it may start another squeeze. This thing can really get moving when it does. I think over the 50 Dave is worth a shot. ANET is a lot like our net entry the other day. I think over this level of 130, I'd say 135 is a trigger on ANET. I would not hate you guys trying that one out. Solar, I don't love the sector, right? But we are getting our pullback. Okay, if we hold these levels and get back over the 9, you got that psychological level of 200 just above. Get through that. I think it could get moving. Not my favorite, just more sector-wise, not my favorite. All right, so those are the triple R's that we're looking at, and then so we'll just go ahead and do NVIDIA right now, and I'll show you guys what I'm looking at here. Okay, so let's see here where we're gapping down to. So we're gonna be at 175 area. So that puts us right down here. Yeah, so look guys, I'll take you back into history and show you times when this has happened. So NVIDIA gaps down, right, off of news, whatever it may be, and then when it breaches this level, you can see how fast it fills that gap, right? It's very strong, very, very strong play. I can show you this on any of the leaders. The majority of the time, if they get a news or a earnings gap down, it's a positioning opportunity, right? It's such a strong company that when you get an overreaction, a lot of times you'll see a lot of buyers step in there and just drive it right back up and close that gap quite quickly. So here's an example of it happening pretty recently, right? And then I would almost guarantee that was tariff stuff right there, right? So overreaction to tariff news, and we breach the gap and immediately fill it within 2 weeks. Okay, so today we are very likely going to open in the 175 area. So that's down here. So if we gap down to this, and I'll just draw it out here, what we're looking for. Say we gap down to the 175 area, right? And say this is the open of the candle and we drive down a little bit. We're looking for it to come back up, especially if it bounces off of that 50, okay? But we want it to come back up, and if it breaches that level, that would be our entry with the stop just below whatever that swing low is, and we're looking to at minimum fill the gap. But it's such a strong company, and again, they're a double earnings beat and announced I think it was a $60 billion share buyback program. I think if this thing does a gap down reversal, it's an absolute trigger, and we got to look for this thing to not just fill the gap, I think, right? So here's your trade. But I think we might push to new highs. I think we might squeeze them out again and push to new highs. You know, that whole earnings thing was without the H20 chips, I believe they're called. The chips are not able to sell to China currently, but it's very likely that that does begin. So like, there's still, I think, a lot of top end for NVIDIA, as hard as that may be to believe. They already make up 8% of the SPY. Massive company, but look, they keep doing massive revs, so they're a growth company at this point still. It's incredible, it's incredible. So look, I like it, NVIDIA, we'll be talking about that through chat. If we get a gap down, reversal trigger, I will be taking it. You gotta swing that bat. And then I like housing, BZH, I'm not gonna go too deep into this. We've seen the flow coming into the housing sector. We could do nail for an example of that, the 3X ETF. Look at all this volume, okay? The sector's getting bought up. All right, so I like BZH, okay? I like BZH back over the 9. I like LZLEN. Okay, so it's broke the 200, came down, tested it, held it. It's just, they all like KHB, they look the same, okay? This looks attractive to me. That's not the right one. KBH is probably what it is. Right, same look, over the 200, held it, pushing up again. I think that this sector is ready to rock, so I might get at least a half size exposure to it for a more longer term swing. We'll see how we feel about that. Financial is really strong. JP Morgan, I'll show you one chart here and just understand, JP Morgan. Just understand that the entire sector looks like this, okay? Financials are leading, and I think that they're poised to continue to do so. That's not my idea. It's a little bit of a cheat from Tom Lee. I was listening to him yesterday, and he thinks that they're going to really benefit from AI and streamlining their processes, stuff like that, and he sees a lot of upside for financials, and frankly, they are leading, so the guy's right again. I gotta say, I mean, he's been on point for a long time. And anyways, this is the financials ETF. You see it's breaking out to all-time highs, so we need to have an eye on that and possible entries. My favorite one is KKR. All right, so we're busting out over the 200, came back, tested it, held, getting back over the 50 and the 9. I like this a lot, and I'm likely to take it here pretty soon. I think that we test at least all-time high, recent high above is good enough for our 2-to-1, and we've got a bit of time for earnings, so I might consider even pushing towards highs if financial remains strong. All right, so I would probably get about a 3-month contract on this and see if we can get a ripper out of it, but I think 2-to-1 is nothing's guaranteed, but I think 2-to-1 is coming. I think we might go for a slightly larger trade return on this one. I like it a lot, KKR. And then BX I like as well. So this is Blackstone. They're the ones that just had somebody run up there and shoot them up. Anyways, irrelevant, I guess. But look, it's attractive. Okay, we're back over the 9. I think if we break out of this little, I I guess, wedge that we're in, this little flag that we're in, I think this could really get going. The thing about financials is that if we're going to get a sustained move in financials, right, let it go, come back and give us a triple R setup. All right, we don't really want to be buying the rips. That's why I like KKR the best, because it hasn't ripped just yet. All right, it's lagging. And if the entire industry is going to get going, then, you know, excuse me guys, sorry. If the industry is going to get going, I want to be in it, right? But that's it, guys. A couple examples of the gap down reversal. I think I'll just show you that real quick because I am quite interested in taking this on NVIDIA if we get it. Here's one on Meta on earnings, gap down. As soon as it breached, it almost immediately filled the gap. Here's another one and filled the gap. Here's another one. Filled the gap. You guys get it, right? You can see how strong this is. A lot of times, the best companies in the world, they just get an overreaction. And again, we already said this, it's positioning, right? It's an opportunity. A great company with growing fundamentals goes on sale for a short period of time. It breaches that level, and it's a pretty strong entry right there with a clear stop, right? How much more can you ask for? I would certainly say this hits well over 50% on good companies, right? It matters. It matters. All right, so here's Microsoft. We'll do a couple more. I'm going to go over this in detail in the boot camp, which starts in just a few days here. But anyways, here's a gap down, boom, immediately reversal. We've got Google has done it a few times. All right, it's not often that these things do it, right? So look at this, look at big gap down, breached it and filled it, you know, weeks later. Very, very, very strong setup. ELF just did it recently, right? All right, so we've got this big gap down on ELF. It breached the level and filled it 2 days later and really got back on trend. So super strong setup, guys. We're looking for an entry for that on NVIDIA if we get it. I would say, let's see how we shape up today coming off of NVIDIA's earnings. If we keep pushing up, I might have to say we're in a risk profile A. I mean, we got RSP reacting off of our level that we wanted to see and pushing back up. We've got IWM breaking out. You know, we've got, let's see what the stocks above. So this is the stocks above their 50-day moving average. It's testing some levels. If we can get a push up on this, I would say the market breadth is pretty solid right now, guys. I'm interested. I am decently exposed. I'm at 40% right now. So I've got my longer term leaps, and then we are in NBUS, which sold off a bit yesterday and looks like it's going to gap down a little bit. They are highly correlated. I should have possibly factor this in a little bit more to my positioning, but they're very correlated to the data center growth of NVIDIA. I haven't dug through the entire earnings call or anything like that, but I have a feeling their earnings centers showed growth, right? So I think this trade may still work out, but obviously we're going to respect our level. I haven't decided where I'm going to go with it. We'll see how NVIDIA acts today, but you know, I still like the potential of this trade. And then net, we had a really nice move on yesterday. We're about a third of the way to our profit target, and that's a 3-to-1. That's a 3-to-1. So we're looking good on net. I like that play a lot. I realized yesterday that I actually entered 2 separate contracts. I doubled what I intended to do. So I did take one off on this little pop yesterday. Didn't mention it in chat. Doesn't really matter. I made like 20% on an accident. You know, I don't feel the need to share that. So guys, look, I like where we're at. I like where we're at. I think that we're going to have a strong Q4. I think financials are going to do well. I think that rate cut related sectors are going to do well. Financials, housing, stuff like that, right? Small caps are clearly doing well. You know, I gotta say, I think we're risk profile A. I mean, we're certainly high Bs. Okay, we're up there, so I like it. Like I said, I'm at I am at about 40% exposure, so I'm certainly open to one more. I don't think I want to go up to 60% exposure right now, but I would take another trade, and then maybe like 2 half sizes is something maybe I could do. But I would take, like, if NVIDIA triggers today, I'll take it. If Me Too or Meta triggers today, I'll take that. So those are the 2 that I really like. I may even consider going half size in both, right? Just so that I could play both of them and then still remain at 50% and then still have, you know, possibly 2 half size positions in the other 2 sectors I would like to get into, which is financials and housing. So that's the juggle I'm doing currently. Like, do I want to put on 4 different positions, each at half size, bringing me up to a full 60%? Or do I want to go full size on one and then maybe half on 2 others should the market environment stay stable. You know, things we'll decide in the moment, things we will look at and make a judgment call on. Look, the breadth is good. I'm excited. I think we're going to get a little bit of a push here, which would be very nice. As long as we stay stable, then I think we've got some room to the upside. Guys, boot camp starts Monday. It is Thursday, so I would love to have you there. We've got a couple people signed up so far. It's a pilot. I'm charging $250. You know, I've got to have that financial commitment so that you will show up, because I'm going to give you everything I got. I'm going to lean over your shoulder and give you everything you need. Become a self-reliant trader with an edge you can leverage for the rest of your life. Guys, I can't imagine how much faster I would have gotten on track had I reached out to my mentor sooner, right? So if you're struggling or looking for profitability, a coach is going to get you there faster. It's a fact. You know, anybody in the top 1%, they all agree. They still hire coaches, right? It is what it is. Somebody that can help you from being distracted, right? That can talk you through things. Someone you can just ask anything, right? That's what I'm going to be. I'm going to give you 60 days where you can ask me anything. We've got a full curriculum where I'm going to go through and show you all 6 of my main models that have got me up 170%. Over 170% in 2025. We're gonna do over 200% this year, guys. So this stuff works. I'd love to show it to you, and I would love to be sure that you're able to spot it yourself and become self-sufficient moving forward, so you never have to rely on someone else for your own growth in the future. The link is below this video or on my YouTube channel. Join me in Discord, that's still free, and I'm excited. We're gonna have a good time. All right, that's it for today. Let's go out there and be smart, make some money. That's all we can do.